Brilliant, thanks very much, Daniel, and it's great to have so many people from so many different places be able to join us tonight. I'm always impressed with the wide reach of these webinars can get these days with international audiences as well as the local ones. So the things I'm going to talk about will be relevant to everybody, not just the local Aberdeen people. But as I said, my name is Matthew Laskaj. I'm the chair for the Institution of Mechanical Engineers in Scotland, and I'm also a director of my own engineering consultancy that I set up 6 years ago now. And the main areas that I focus on is helping engineers and entrepreneurs to develop their skills with specialist training and coaching. And over the sort of the 25 years, it's things that I've learned and then been able to help grow the business idea from 6 years ago to what it is now. There's so many people at the moment finding it tough, and it's been going on for probably 9 months now. And so what I want to do over the next 45 minutes or so is to give you my ideas and my step-by-step process that I use, and I still do use now, to help develop the business, grow the business, redefine what I'm doing. When 12 months ago, when things changed, I still use that now. So hopefully this will help things get a little bit easier and a little bit better for you and give you some inspiration and some ideas how to do it yourself. So make sure you've got your pen and paper handy and you're ready to take lots of notes, because I'm going to keep the tips coming as much as I can. Daniel is going to manage the questions. I can't see questions anymore with Teams when you're doing a presentation. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat box. And Daniel, if there are any that come through as we're talking, I'm happy to answer them then and there, or we can leave them until the end as well. So if you look at the last 12 months, as I said, it's been pretty tough for a lot of people. And if you go back to March and April last year, so it's 12 months ago now, the unemployment rose 69% just from March to April alone. And with the retention scheme finishing and furlough finishing and things like that, it's probably going to even get worse in the next few months. And I saw about a month ago, there was an announcement, there's about 200,000 people have lost their jobs in the last year, just in the UK. So it's a huge amount of people having to redefine what they're doing and coming up with new ways to make some money. If I look at the positive side, to me, there's not really what I call a new normal. Everyone says, oh, is this the new normal? Is this what we're going to do? For me, life is never normal. So life changes, and this is just another part of the change. So the way I do it is using this process. It doesn't matter what change comes along, we can redefine what we're doing and then refocus on what it is. Some of the biggest, Daniel and Jai were mentioning there, some of the biggest companies have actually started in recessions. If you look at how Airbnb started, it was about 2007. So that was during the big market crash. It was two friends and they were looking for some money, so they decided to rent out an air mattress on their living room. And that's where the idea came from for Airbnb. That's why it's called that. They gave them breakfast and had a blow-up mattress on their floor. They saw an opportunity then to expand it, and I think last time I saw that Airbnb are valued at about $100 billion. If you look at Disney, they started in the Great Depression, and the whole idea was then to create cartoons that was to bring happiness, and Snow White was born from that idea. IBM in the early 1900s, Microsoft in the 1970s, again during recessions. Netflix started when one person had a late DVD return and got fined by Blockbuster for handing it in late. So we decided to say, well, rather than mailing it back in late, I'm going to start a mail order DVD rental instead. I actually heard also that the Blockbuster declined to buy Netflix at one point. So that probably didn't turn out too well for them, that decision. General Electric, if you know Thomas Edison, they started in the the late 1800s as well in recessions. So what I'm trying to say is that just because the times are bad doesn't mean that a business can't start or can't grow. And quite often those businesses actually get better or are more successful. And as Jai said there, it's because people need something. So one option to get more energy, to more creative, to a bit more success in what you're wanting to do is to be innovative and create something. sell yourself and sell what your idea is and become what we call an entrepreneur. So I actually like to combine the two terms together, and I call it an innovative entrepreneur because I want to combine innovation with entrepreneurship. So to me, that's what the focus is on, about innovation, entrepreneurship, and having a good idea for people who need it. So if you look at, if I talk about innovation and entrepreneurs, who do you think of first? Steve Jobs is usually the one I get. Bill Gates, Elon Musk. He's the second richest person in the world, and he's not made a profit in 1 year in 17 years. So coming up with an idea is usually the easier part, the fastest and the cheapest. But how do we get that idea out into the market? So innovation, I say, is turning that idea into a solution that solves a problem and adds value for a customer. So this is kind of what your main focus needs to be for your business idea. Have an idea, turn it into something that's going to solve a problem for somebody, and make sure it adds value when you do it. And to me, the key word there is value. Add value by solving their problem. If you link that with the word entrepreneurship, you're now going to use that new idea that you've just come up with that solves a problem, that adds value, to create a new venture from it. So to make the money from it, to help people from it, could be a charity, but making sure that you're identifying what it is so that you can help people who are struggling there. There's probably not a person around that sort of hasn't struggled for that motivation and the focus and to stay positive there. And, people write business plans. Business plans are great because they're well documented and help you put it out on paper there. But you've got to start with a strategy first before you even get to that point. What's the process that you need to do to even get to the point? So for me, innovation and entrepreneurship is about starting that journey to start with. So I'm going to give you a few tips over the next time of how you can come up with an idea, go through a bit of a short exercise of how you might be able to get started yourself as well. And then we'll go through the whole process of how I'm going to do this. So before that, I'm going to give you a bit of background as to how my journey started up. If you haven't noticed, or you may have already noticed, the accent is not actually Scottish. I actually live in Aberdeen, been here for 10 years now, but I'm originally from Melbourne in Australia. So the accent's Australian for those of you who might have been wondering if it's New Zealand or not, get that as well. I studied mechanical engineering, I did industrial design, so it's whole ideas about technology and creativity and design and those sorts of topics there. So my first roles was in edible oil refineries, rolling mills, and then after that I shifted across the other side of Australia all the way over there to Perth, working in some of the refineries and nearer the mines. So it was kind of going from what I knew to something which I really didn't know, because we didn't know anyone at that time over there. That was okay because I was moving to a job. But then came over a few years later and I moved to the even more unknown, moved all the way from there to Aberdeen, or to Scotland it was. So I was 4 hours from Melbourne to Perth, which felt like quite a long time in itself. But then it's another 24 hours to get over here, coming into something where you don't have a job to start with in the first place. So I would never have thought back, all those time ago when I worked in the edible oil refinery, that I'd be working in a different type of oil refinery 20 years later, flying offshore in helicopters and doing all sorts of, sounds glamorous, but it's pretty hard work out there as well. So, at that time, it was great working with oil and gas in Aberdeen, managing a team of 45 people in an engineering department for a drilling company, working on some really big projects with maintenance teams and operation teams, flying around the country, learning all sorts of things myself. So I thought, this is brilliant. This is a perfect move over there. Then what happened? 2015, and it all came crashing down. So if you're here in 2015 in Aberdeen, the oil market dropped quite considerably. So the big first yellow circle there, that is the oil price. It went from about $120 a barrel, I think, down to almost $20 or $25 a barrel. So everything just ground to a halt. The team I had was no longer needed. I was no longer needed. My boss was no longer needed. So do you have a question there, Daniel? No, sorry, I just thought I heard someone saying something. So what do you do when there's no work, the market's crashed, there's no jobs? You know, does this sound familiar for where a lot of you are? If you look at the second circle, that's kind of the last year. Now this is the oil price crash, but it's pretty indicative of what the crash in the marketplace has been from COVID as well. So, you know, it happens, it cycles, and it keeps on happening over and over again for different reasons. So what I did is I decided to start a business in a crisis, not a recession, but it was a pretty big crash nonetheless. It's not a recession now, but it's, again, a very big crash. So what I had was a plan. I had an idea, I had a plan as to what I wanted to do, why I wanted to do it, and what I needed to figure out was how I was going to get that underway. So again, it was going pretty well for 5 years. Then COVID hit. Back to where I started again. Everything stopped. Projects offshore stopped again. All the repair works stopped again. Engineering stopped again. So I had to go back to my original strategy, my original process and my plan, and come up with a different way to run the business or target market the business. And I use this process, and that's what I'm saying, that the process isn't just for startups. The process can be used for people who are already going, and you just have to go back and redefine what you're doing. So why should you start a business? Maybe your role is getting made redundant, or you fear about losing your job. Maybe you just want to make a bit of extra money on the side, just as a bit of a backup. Maybe you've already got that great idea. Maybe you just want to be an entrepreneur, or maybe the innovative entrepreneur like we talked about. You want flexible time, clients, you want to be able to choose your work when you want to do it. Or maybe you just want to do something that you love to do. You know, I've learned over the years that this is one of the most important ones out of all of those on the list. Do something that you actually love to do, you want to do, you enjoy doing. I'm not going to say there's not been some challenging times. Jai mentioned a few challenging times on the startup there, and there's going to continue to be challenging times. So if you're thinking, well, like Joe said there, I can't start it, it's too hard, it's too risky, I don't know what to do, give it a shot. You'll be surprised at actually what you can do if you follow the right processes, you get the right help, take some actions and get the results there. There's plenty of help. So I'm going to give you a few of those ideas just now. One is you can read a lot of books. There's so many books on starting up things, textbooks, theories, all sorts of things like that. Speak to lots of people, absolutely critical, even regardless of the method you pick. Speaking to people helps you understand what they've gone through and helps you save some time. You can get advice and support from agencies and some businesses like you're going to hear a bit later on. You can watch YouTube. There's probably nothing you can't learn off YouTube these days. About a year and a half or 2 years ago, I actually rebuilt my car engine that blew up looking at videos from YouTube with a few other bits and pieces. So, you know, you can get quite a lot of things there. Trial and error. We're going to go through a lot of trial and error, or you can pay someone a lot of money to do it all for you, and it still may not be successful anyway. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what information am I looking for? Is it going to be reliable? Is it the industry that I'm interested in, and do they have experience in what I'm going through or what you're going through? Have they done it themselves? And that part's not as easy as it sounds. So there's a lot of general information on starting up. Find someone that's done something similar to what you're doing and speak to them and get help from them, because they've gone through the exact same things that you do. I've tried pretty much all of these, and you know, still do use a lot of them, and maybe the last one there, but just like fixing my car, it took a long time to do it yourself when I could have just maybe taken it to a mechanic or asked for some expert help. So how do you make sure that you're not in the 80% of businesses that fail in the first year? Because that's the numbers. 80% of businesses will fail in the first year. And again, I heard recently that only about 4% are still running after 10 years. How do you make sure that you don't come up with those same mistakes? You want to save some time and save money, you know, that hair pulling, going crazy. How do you find that way to not talk yourself out of it and say it's too hard? Change your story to do it, and keeping it simple is my message. Do it simple, don't overcomplicate it. Going to ruin one thing for you here, and that's the light bulb moment. There is no light bulb moment in business. Who invented the light bulb? Do you know who invented the light bulb? I mentioned him earlier. He worked for General Electric, Thomas Edison. Okay, so this is what it comes from. Oh, the light bulb moment. I've come up with this brilliant idea. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to make this a success. He wasn't the first one to invent the light bulb. There was about 20 other people that actually came up with the idea before him. It took him 2 years from the time he first got the patent released to actually selling anything. He took 3,000 light bulbs tested to actually get it to a marketable position. How many times did Dyson try his vacuum cleaner before he became successful? If you know the story of Dyson, the way he came up with his idea was he was working in a sawmill or doing a tour of a sawmill, and he noticed there was no wood chips or dust or anything coming out the roof of this sawmill. And he thought, how are they getting rid of all the big chips and all the dust all at once? There's not one thing coming out. And he saw that they had a cyclone. So he goes, oh, that's a brilliant idea. There's his light bulb moment. I'm going to make this work perfectly, make a vacuum cleaner out of it. 5,000 versions later, it was just over 5,000 versions, it took him to go from that light bulb moment to the one that he sold. He's now one of the richest people in the UK from that. But it wasn't instant. Okay, so what you need to do is have a plan, how you're going to work through that plan and that process to make sure you do it. Because he could have stopped after the first one he actually made out of cardboard and stockings and things on his vacuum cleaner. Okay, so what I did is about 9 months ago, I had a lot of people asking me, how can I do it myself, what you're doing? How can I start a business? How can I make extra money? What can I do when there's no jobs around? So I decided to write a book on the processes that I've gone through and my experiences and provide as much help to people as I could. So one of the ways is I wrote a book and I put that onto Amazon, and it's called Start Your Business in 4 Steps. Okay, and it's 4 simple steps that I'm using to start and grow the business as I go. Create your passion idea. I talked about making sure that you have a job that you love, a business idea that you love. Design the business based on that vision. Set up the vision and then deliver the success that you want it to deliver by defining the success that you need. But you also need the marketing and sales plan and all of those other parts to go with it. So, you can be your own boss too by following simple steps like this. I'm an engineer and I love a good formula. So I'm going to give you my simple formula of the number 4. Step 1, create a plan. It's all going to be coming in 4s, nice and simple. First one's create the plan. The second one is take action and set up the business for the success. Step 3 is to launch the business and get feedback, talk to people while you're doing it. And then step 4 is refine it, keep on making it better and better, changing it if you need to, and continue to grow. Obviously more than 4 steps involved in there. So I'm going to go through each one of these in a bit more detail. So what I like to call the pain and gain balance. You want to decide what you're going to focus on. Okay, so I mentioned it earlier, keep a plan. You need to find what they call a niche, a unique selling point. You've got to match the idea and the products and the service with the people who have that problem. And it's all about finding the problem. What is the pain that somebody has? You are there to take away what we call the pain. Okay, so that's your task as a businesswoman selling products or providing a service. Okay, find the pain, tell them how they're going to gain from your help. It could be saving time, making more money, reducing risk, saving money. The gain has to outweigh that pain by at least 5, if not 10 times if you can, because you need to make sure that they go, wow, I'm going to use this as a brilliant idea. What can you do? What can your idea be? We're all an expert in something. We've all got experience in something. If you look at what the Cambridge Dictionary says, an expert is someone who advises people on a particular subject and they're paid to give expert advice or training on that subject. Okay, so expert advice on a particular subject. So if you're going to set up a service company, you need to demonstrate that you're an expert, you're going to give advice on that subject, and you're going to take away their pain by whatever gain you're going to offer them. Okay, maybe it's you're selling a product. What does your product take away that they need or solve for them or make them feel better, or maybe some other things? Okay, think about back to those companies that I listed before in the recession. Why were they so successful? One of the reasons is because in a recession, people need something a lot more than other times. Right now, what do people need now more than they did before? What's been successful in the last 12 months? Zoom, Teams, remote working setups, mental health help. You know, all of these things, by the way the world's changed, we've got new problems in the world. Solve problems like that. So step one, create the plan, has got a sub 4 steps within it. So I'm going to break step one down into 4 steps within itself. What are you going to sell? Who's going to buy it? How are you going to deliver it? And why do they care? This is the most important question that you need to think about. Why do they care? Customers are selfish. They care about themselves. They care about their problems, what they need and what they want. And they're happy to pay you to do it if you can solve that problem for them. Tell them how they will benefit from your solution. Okay. The other side to why is why you're doing it yourself. How many hours a week are you going to work to stop working in a 40-hour-a-week job? If you're going to do that, you want to make sure that you're actually happy spending time, because you will spend a lot more time than 40 hours a week working on it. Do something that you love to do, something that you're passionate about, something that helps other people. If you can combine that industry gap, that need of the people, with something that you love doing, then there's the perfect reason to help start your business. Okay, more freedom, variety of work. I need to have changes in what I'm doing. There's one really good way of doing it is through your business. Better career opportunities, learning about other industries and other skills yourself, learning from a huge amount of other people that you talk to, and absolutely you need to have fun. One of the core criteria, I think, is if you're going to do it, you're going to have fun to do it. So how do we combine all of those things I've just said? And in Japan, they call it ikigai. What they describe is their reason to get out of bed in the morning. So what it does is it combines their values, the needs of others, what you actually like to do, and then use that to help determine your purpose for what the world needs. So they say that, you know, if you discover that red bit in the middle where all of those circles meet, that's your fulfillment and happiness, and ultimately will make you live longer if you get those. So if it works for that, why not try it for yourself? So right now, that piece of paper I said to have ready, what I want you to do is spend 1 minute writing down the first 3 things that you can think of. What are the skills that you have? What are you good at? Maybe what you've been paid to do in the past. What are you an expert at? Because if you've got the skills, you're good at it, you've been paid at it, there's a good starting point for showing that you're an expert in that field. Okay, so start with just 3. The first things that come to your mind, and you're going to want to do this again later. You'll end up with a big long list of things that you've good at, you like to, you're skilled at, and you've also been paid for. Every single job that you've done, write it down. For now, just come up with the 3. Okay, so once you've got a list of all of that, there's looking at your skills side of it, or what you can be paid for possibly. What do you do next? You need to talk about what you love, work in what you love, what your passion is. So again, what's your passion? 3 things that you love to do. What are your hopes, your dreams, things that you want to get out of bed to do, things that you just like to do in your spare time maybe? What are the things that you're actually really keen on doing? For me, it was engineering, so obviously I had to do something in engineering. I then drilled down further and decided to do projects matched with training and coaching people. As the years have gone by, I've reorganized the way that the structure works, and it's more focused on the training, because I found that that's actually what I like to do more, is to help other people to get to those points. Okay, so if you remember the circle, what skills do you have, or what are you good at? What can you be paid to do? What do you love? What does the world need? So the last part of that is, how do you solve the problem by combining all of those things? What's the pain that you're going to solve for other people? Is it an emerging sector? Is there something that's popped up in the last 12 months that wasn't there before? Is it something that's always been there? Maybe it's something that no one's thought about. Okay, so here's a good way, simple way to start the process. There's obviously more depth in that, and so the book goes into a lot more detail than what I'm showing here, but this is a good starting point just to get you started on that step one. Okay, so what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. Once you've looked at that, who your customers are is a big part of it as well, which I've not talked too much about, but you need to think about your customers, because you're solving a pain for the customer. Without a customer, it's not a business. So you need to spend quite a lot of time then in that phase working on customers as well. But this is the bit everyone wants to jump straight into, isn't it? I've got an idea for a business. I know what I'm going to do. What am I going to call my business? Okay, so step two is what I call taking action. Designing all of the fundamentals of the business. You've got to get that right, because if you get this wrong, you're actually going to run out of money. Joe said he had 3 months of money there. Plan that ahead so that you know exactly that you have 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 1 month, what's it going to be. Base your pricing based on the needs of others as well. So the fun part, naming your business. My advice is just something that's easy to spell. You can put your business after your name. If you saw my name at the start, Laskaj. It's very unusual that anybody says my last name right, unless you're from Norway or the other side of Europe. Okay, Laskaj with a J. Only some of the countries will say it that way. And most people, if you hear some of the versions that are here, so probably not the best name to name a business when people look at it and go, what? Okay, so something that's easy to say, easy to spell, but it's unique, something that's memorable as well. Don't make it too specific, because what happens is, as the business grows and develops, you may want to change direction slightly. You may want to expand. Okay, if you call it a plumbing, Sarah's plumbing store, what happens if you want to sell masonry or carpentry work? Well, now am I going to change the name to cater for that? So you may want to have something a little bit more generic. And I always think sometimes if you're only going to be the specific, maybe you do want to be more specific. And I always sort of think about when I drive around and you see some of these takeaway stores around, and they sell fish and chips, and they sell pizza, and they sell Indian food all from the one store. Are you going to go to one of those for a specialty curry, or are you going to go to a proper Indian traditional restaurant? So be careful about being too generic and doing everything, but leave yourself enough room to maybe expand slightly in the niche area that you're trying to focus on. Another tip is make sure it doesn't exist already. Okay, so there's lots of links and things you can look up in the book or on websites and places, Government House and website builders. Make sure that the name isn't registered somewhere else, because you can't copy it or use it. Even if it's registered on Company's House, make sure it doesn't exist on social media. Make sure it doesn't exist on websites, because it may just be other people using the name, and there's a lot of confusion. If you're going to work internationally, you need to check internationally as well. So it's really important that you get the legal and the business structure right. If you get this wrong, you could be up for a lot of money. One tip is a sole trader is not the same as a limited company. Okay, I get this question a lot, and especially when you're working in consulting businesses and things, engineering consulting and that. They go, I'm a consultant, I'm going to work for you and you can pay me. It's like, right, are you a company or are you a person? They go, I'm just a person needing work. And then you see the name, it's got limited company after it. It's like, well, no, you're actually not a sole trader or a consulting person. You're a company, and that company is hiring you to work through that company. So a sole trader is if you're doing the job and you're working for yourself, and all of the risk is yours. If you get sued, you can lose your house. So all of the risk comes under you personally. But there's a lot of benefits as well, because it's a lot easier to set up and it's a lot less paperwork and things to go through. If you're setting up a limited company, it's a company. And you, even if you're the sole director and you're the only employee there, you're an employee of that company. The company is its own legal entity. And if something happens, the company will lose the money, not necessarily you, depending on insurances and things. So you've got a lot more protection as a limited company than as a sole trader, but there's a lot more paperwork and a lot more legal registrations and taxes and VAT registrations and things to do if it's a company as well. So if you're in the UK, the best site to go through is www.hmrc.gov.uk. All right, so you go to there and they've got a huge amount of advice and tips on sole trader partnerships and limited companies there. Another one which people quite often get confused is what's the difference between company's house and HMRC. Okay, so company's house is different to HMRC because you file your company tax return with HMRC, but you file and register your business with company's house. And it's actually really easy. Last time I looked, it was £12 to register a business. That's all it takes. A couple of things on the internet, £12, but it comes with a lot of responsibility at the same time. So don't just go off and spend your £12 and go, I've got a business. You know, you're going to have to get an accountant. You're going to have to get all these other things, which I can talk about later as well. So what about pricing? How much are you going to charge for your service or your product? Okay, maybe you can go off and look at what everyone else is doing. How do you know that they're charging the right price? Do you charge by the hour? Do you charge higher than other people because you want to show your expertise, or do you want to go lower than other people and get more sales? People will often go, well, I need to get that first sale. I need to just start somewhere. I'm going to make my prices really cheap just so I can get some money in the bank because I'm really going to struggle without it. Be careful with that tactic because it's very hard to raise your prices. If you get seen as the pound store, as the one that's cheap, you can imagine if the pound store then brought in more expensive stuff and started selling it for £10 store instead, no one's going to go to it. So be really careful about what prices you pay, and it's got to come back to the value that you deliver. Set your price based on value that you offer, pain that you take away, what gain they're going to get from it. So work out what you need to make and what you can afford by spending only the bare minimum. Cash flow is really important. Once you run out of money, what are you going to do? You're going to start looking for a job then, which could take months to get it. Do you need to borrow more money? You're going to get investment from people. Spend as little as possible is my advice. We all want to go for the big fancy shiny stuff. Everything, oh, I can start up a new business, I'm going to buy this new computer, new software, mobile phone, all this stuff, I'm going to look really good. And then you've got no money coming in because all you've done is spent it on marketing and things you want. Okay, so don't get tempted. Just make do with what you've got until you start the money coming in. Use a phone. You know, why do you have to get a new phone when the one that's 2 years old works perfectly well? Do you need a laptop and a PC and a tablet and a phone? Do you need to get a lease on a car, or can you just get a cheaper car? Do you need to rent out an office or buy an office when you can actually work from home? And I think we've shown we can work from home these days. Step 3. Tell everyone you're open for business and you're ready to deliver that problem and solve their pain. First impressions count. Okay, the first impressions of you, just as much as your business and your logo and your name counts. your first impressions of you count, okay? So practice the elevator pitch, practice your own personal pitch. Balance your warmth, how you come across, versus your competence. You're an expert, you're going to sell something that you're the best at, you've got the best product at, okay? But balance that with the warmth, because people will judge you on warmth and trust before they judge you on anything else. So the first thing they see, that's what they're going to see. So I say be authentic to what you're doing, be you. Body language is important. 90% of the meaning comes across through how we look, act, move. Look into eyes when you're talking to them. Don't sort of look down or above them. If you're talking to a camera, look in the camera. Okay, try not to read off the screen when you're doing a pitch or something on a computer. Try to do it. Get so that you come across. Okay, it takes quite a lot of practice to talk into a camera rather than to look on a screen, or worse, if you're looking on Teams or something. How many of you actually spend half the time looking at your own video in the corner? You don't even realize you're kind of doing it, and all you're worried about is, oh, what do I look like? Oh, how am I sitting? Oh, I wonder what they're thinking, and no one's looking at you, but you can't help but do it. Okay, so the warmth, the authenticity, be you. Show everybody that this is you and this is why. Okay, competence. Use evidence. How have you solved this problem before for other people? This is why you want to look at what you've done in the past. Oh, I've actually done this job before. I've done this exact thing. I can solve this problem because look, here's the proof. I saved this much money. I saved them this much time. I made their life easier. Okay, demonstrate to them why they should do business with you based on the type of person you are, but based on your expertise and your competence and the solution. Okay, so practice that killer elevator pitch, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. The elevator pitch is actually called an elevator pitch because it's the time it takes to be in an elevator. Depends on how big the building is, but maybe 30 seconds, a minute. Don't do it too long. Practice on the video, record it. You can sign up to Zoom and just record yourself without anyone else in the meeting. You don't have to have fancy software. Record yourself. You'll hate it, but watch yourself play it back. Listen to what it sounds like. See what you do and what you act like, and you'll learn a lot from it. But you will hate it. I promise you, it takes a long time to get used to seeing yourself or hearing yourself on video. All right, social media is really important. So the better you get at it, the better your business will go. Everyone's on social media, right? How did you see the ad for tonight? Social media, maybe email, maybe some other way. One good tip is a free way. As soon as you start your business, go to Google My Business, especially if you're selling products locally. Okay, Google My Business. You can set it up for free, and everyone uses Google these days. You know, Bing, Yahoo, not many people use them. People use Google. If you've got your business set up on Google My Business, Google loves it. You'll get higher up in the rankings. If you do more posts on Google My Business, you'll go high up in the rankings and get lots of feedback. Try to get the ratings and the feedback up as quickly as possible. Okay, it's free to do it. Straight after this, if you've already got a business and you're not on it, sign up to do it, okay? Social selling, social media stuff is hard, especially for us engineers, where we're not used to doing that sort of stuff. So practice it as much as you can. That's one of my advice, and I've learned that more over the last 2 years than I've ever learned it, especially now, last 9 months, everything's online. The saying I say, there's a saying, if they build it, they will come. I think it was from an old baseball movie, if you've ever seen Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams. If they build it, they will come. Completely wrong. In business, they will not come. You need to tell them that it's there, and you need to tell them why they need it. Okay, so if they need it, tell them why. That's your job. If you do that effectively, you will always have a successful business. Last step, step 4. Sales, focusing on now what the customers are, continue to grow, and then obviously enjoy it as well. So every time the world changes, there's a market crash, the oil downturn hits, there's a virus. Follow the same process, and for me, it keeps on working over and over again because it's very simple. It's very specific to the targets you need to do for each step, and it focuses you on those one area as you go. And until you get them right, you're going to just keep on struggling all the way through. Okay, so you've got a professional image, you've got a great looking website which you've set up at that time, you've got a brilliant product, an awesome service. It's going to help fix people's pain. So you're ready to start selling. So the three fundamental steps for sales that I think, in my opinion. Well, step one is determine the value of yourself and the value of what you're offering. So you've done that in back all the way in step one anyway, okay? What is the value that you offer and what is the value of yourself? Number two is have lots of conversations. Talk to as many people as you can. Jai mentioned that their family and friends aren't always the best person to ask because they're going to say it's great, I love it. They find it very hard to actually say, you know what, well, some family members might, but quite often they're not going to tell you an unbiased option. So go out to other people, go out to competitors and ask them what they think, even see what their reaction's like without trying to give too much away. Other people in the same industry, different industries, walk around the street and get feedback. Always get feedback as much as possible. Okay, if you get good feedback, you'll understand the customer better. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. How would they think? How would they feel? How would they react to what you're offering? How easy is it for them to go through the process of what you're offering? And the last one for sales is be authentic, be yourself, be warm and trustworthy, show your competence, link it back to the value and how you can solve that pain. So again, engineering, it's all about continuous improvement. A lot of business processes are about continuous improvement. So this is the refine and grow part. Always keep on improving, continuously improving. Make changes, small changes, big changes, depending on the market conditions, customer feedback, sales numbers. Plan, deliver, sell, improve. All right, that's the 4 steps. Plan it, come up with your idea, deliver it, sell it, go through the cycle again. It's a structured, strategic plan using innovation, creativity, and passion, something you love to doing. So do you want to know the secret that I used when I started up and what I continue to use? This is my number 1 biggest tip, is the customer. It has to all be about the customer. Start off with market research. Start off with what the customer demands are, what's their sales patterns, where do they hang out, what do they need, what do they buy, what companies do they use, how much do they charge. Research the customer, research the market, put yourself in their shoes. Then think about why are they going to buy from you. Okay, so that favorite word of mine, why. Why would they buy from you? Why do they care? Test it again and again and again. Make them feel special. Okay, give them more than they expect. Give them more in return than what they're paying for it. Give them deals, give them offers, give them free stuff.
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can. Yes.
Are you so I'm sorry, I might have missed a few bits about what you actually do, because I know you said you're an engineer.
Yeah.
I heard about the Norway, obviously Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Just because I have a few questions in terms of life cycle assessment, and if you're from Norway, do you ever work in Norway, or is it just do you work? Does the work take you to Norway? Sorry, excuse me. Let me just.
Sorry, you're fading away a bit there. I think what you said is, have I ever worked in Norway?
I want to know about the oil in Norway now, and are there things around? Yeah, like when you work, right, and you also have a business. Yeah, did I get that right?
Well, I'm an employee of my limited company. So as I said, I'm the director of my limited company. So
right,
I work for that company. So it's not my company, it's a company. It's just I'm the sole director for that company. That's how limited company set up. But yes.
And you're an engineer, and what does the company do again?
Does the company what?
What does it do?
What does the company do? So I manage engineering projects, I do engineering, and also deliver specialist engineering training. So maintenance, business strategies, manufacturing, all sorts of different engineering and business entrepreneur and innovation related topics.
Okay.
Yep.
So Yeah, do you, if somebody will, well, I'll let you finish the book. I believe you, since you do this business strategies innovation, so you probably be doing some consultancy. So you're open to work with other people or
Absolutely,
not?
yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so you speak about that later, right?
Yep, sure,
Okay.
no problem. I can.
All right, okay then. Okay, thank
I
you.
think I've only got 2 slides to go, so it was perfect timing. So I can mention that in a minute. So, but it's a great question. Yep, thank you. So what was your name? I can't see names popping up on my screen. So
My name is Chidinma, although I'm popularly known as Yvonne.
Yvonne, all right. That's a good one to remember. Thanks, Yvonne. I'll mention that at the end. Great question.
Yeah, thank you.
So the customer is what you've got to focus on. Value, creating value for the customer, whether it's a product or a service. If you're a consultant and you're providing a service, you're the expert. Show your expertise and show how you're going to help them. If it's a product, show how it's going to solve that pain for them. It may be something that they love. You know, if you look at Apple products, people line up days before a new Apple product comes out, and the new iPhone is not that much different to the old iPhone, but they'll line up for it. Do they need it? No. Do they want it? Absolutely. But why do they want it? Why do people buy products like that when they don't need them? In their mind, they need them for other reasons as well. So there's always a need about that. What value does it create for them? So looking at how they're going to do that, what about you? How can you learn all of this and do it for yourself in more detail? I've gone over a little bit of the very first step about creating an idea based on your passion, the value, the pain and the gain. But how do you work your way through all of these processes? What are you going to do now? And this sort of brings me into the question that Yvonne there had. If you look at the processes all as the one, 4 simple steps broken down into 4 subsets. Why do they need it? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Who are you going to do it for? Setting up your business, getting the business ready to market it and sales to the customer. And the last one of the most critical ones there is have fun doing it. Enjoy what you're doing. So that comes back to the passion. Okay, so this is the whole cycle. How do we learn to read, write or walk? How did you learn to play football if you played football or another sport when you were younger? What do successful business people do? How do they know what to do? They do it by learning from others. Okay, so others who have done it themselves, others who have been down that path before. A coach is usually somebody who's played the sport before. A business coach is usually someone who's done that same business. Okay, so people have done it before, experts in what they've done. People have had the trials and tribulations of learning for themselves maybe. Okay, so that's how we get it. Provide feedback, have the guidance. They tell them why they need it and help to keep on doing it. So here's a couple of ways that you can fast track your success. The first one is go through the book there on Amazon. I think Daniel's put the link in the page in the chat box there. If you want to go to Amazon, you can download it straight away. It's available as an ebook on Amazon. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, it's actually free for you. Okay, so it goes through these 4 steps in a lot more detail. There's a load of links, hyperlinks to websites, all of these different places you can go for extra information. Okay, so there's one. And based on the best, most interesting, most useful 3 questions we get tonight, Daniel and I are going to have a look through them shortly, and I'm going to give away 3 copies of that book. Okay, so if you've got a question, I've had one so far that I've seen or heard. If anyone else has got any questions and you want a chance to get a free copy, there's your chance. The second way is you can join up the Facebook group page, another free way to do it. Okay, it's called Innovate and Create, or if you go to Facebook, just type in Innovate Create. It's invite only, and I load up lots of free information, further free tools and tips and advice on things in the book, things that I'm doing at the time, where you can go through for more advice. And most importantly, you can actually post your own questions on there and answer each other's questions as well. So it's people who are in a similar situation or similar interests on that book. So please go onto the Facebook page there. I'll go onto it later and let all of you in if you sign up for it. And the third option that Yvonne mentioned there is I do coaching and training as well. So my name's Matthew Laskaj there, the Director of Project Engineering Management Ltd. The website, a whole lot of social media channels, again, free advice on YouTube and other places there. So please connect, please ask me questions, opinions, and get as much, I'm here to help as many people as I can. That's the reason I wrote it in the first place, was to help people. Okay, so if you want more specialist advice, absolutely we can set up coaching or training programs. I do a 4-week training program on starting it up there. But there's 2 things that I want you to remember out of today. 2 main things. Why? That's the most important question that you can think about. Why should you do it? Why should they buy it from you? Number 2 is the start of the journey. If you're like me, your brain's always thinking about things, always coming with new ideas just before you go into sleep. You've got all these ideas and then you wake up the next morning and you've forgotten them all and you start all over again. Think about different ways that you can improve and add value constantly. Keep on looking, talking to people, getting feedback. Okay, so there's a whirlwind tour of my sort of process, my 4 main steps to focus on. So my favorite part for the evening now is the question time. So Daniel, hit me with any of the questions that you might have.
Okay, does anyone want to either drop a question in the chat or just quickly say it out loud? We've got about 5-10 minutes to do this.
So while you're looking at there, I'll just answer Yvonne's question then, seeing that she had a question earlier. So your question was about working in Norway, was that right?
Yes, that was my question, because I was wondering because obviously the oil industries have gone, there's so much to do with the whole greening,
yes.
A bit more sustainable. So, and lots of divestments of investments as well. So I'm just wondering what's going on because I know Norway is a very big place and their major source of income is the oil industry. Yeah. So if there's something I was reading recently about them resuscitating a few things in that regard. So I'm just thinking of how that can be brought into the economy, but in a much more greener way. Since there's lots of carbon capture technologies.
Okay,
so
there's 2 different parts to that question, and the first one is the opportunities in Norway.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is look at the opportunities just like you would in any other country. Okay, so they're obviously you're thinking there about they're known for their oil and gas, and now they're moving into renewables and electric vehicles. If you saw the ad with Will Ferrell at the Super Bowl about the electric vehicles, if you haven't seen that, the ad's quite funny about America trying to barge into Norway's electric vehicles. So you've got to look at what the opportunities in that country are, just as you have to in the town or city you're working in.
Okay, so where from Norway are you from?
I'm from Australia.
So let me ask, Masha's got a question as well. So she wants to sell luxury products that you love marketing. Do you still need to see them through a lens to solve people's problems? Sorry.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether you're doing a service or selling a product, because if somebody doesn't want or need that product or the service, they're not going to pay money for it. Okay, so the starting point for me is to understand firstly what your idea is and what you like doing, but then how can you link that to something that people need? Okay, why did people go from the Walkman to an iPod? You can have enough music to go for a walk on a Walkman. The way that Steve Jobs came up with it was, well, you can have 1,000 songs on a Walkman now. Plus, how cool does this look? You're going to be so trendy walking around with this white, the white headphones. How many people wanted white headphones even though they didn't have an iPod? Okay, so they solved a problem which people probably didn't know existed at the time. It was, wow, I want more songs on my Walkman. Plus, I don't have to have tapes and batteries and things. And now how cool do I look having the white headphones? So even if you're selling a product, think about why do they want to buy it from you? Do they need it because they want to go for a walk and the tape's not long enough for them? Do they just want to look good? Do they want it for other reasons? So there's a bunch of different things. Saves time, saves money, makes them more money, or makes them feel better about themselves.
Okay, I'm going to let one more person jump on and ask a question. So who wants to ask anything?
I've just seen what you're doing. There's a couple of tips there about Facebook. No, so Amazon. Was there one about Amazon I just saw? What's your view on Amazon? I'm not sure what FBA businesses mean, but Amazon side businesses. I know there's a really good training programs and things on that Amazon are offering, but I'm not sure what FBA means. So if anyone can. Free domains, you can get really good domain names, like you can get them for £1 for the first year, or £2 or £3 for the second or third year. So there's a load of different companies, like GoDaddy's one of them. Ahmed's can probably talk about them shortly, about different places, but usually you can get domain names for £1 or £2 for the first year, and then if you decide you don't like it, you can just not renew it. Multiple products, yeah, definitely multiple products, because if it's related and you've got multiple things, that means they've got a choice of what they want. But try not to have too many random products that don't match. So don't have a massive mismatch of different things that, they go to one page and they see you're selling 4 different things that are not related, and they'll just get confused and not leave. That's what I found. If they're related, yeah, definitely have them on the one website, maybe different pages or maybe different subcategories, but absolutely sell more than one product. When I say make sure you focus on a niche, I'm talking about a niche area. So you might have 100 products in that niche area. Any others, Daniel, that you saw come through? I was just trying to catch up on the chat box.
I'm just looking through. Okay, any more questions?
Opportunities from tender platforms. It depends on what your business is. My job isn't to go out to tender platforms necessarily. It's to do repairs and modifications for structures and mechanical works, but it's also to go into companies and help train and make their companies run more efficiently. So not too up on the tender platforms other than drilling.
Okay, I think there's enough questions. I kind of like to move on to the next part of the meeting. So we're very lucky to have Business Gateway here, and they're going to tell us about some of the opportunities at starting up a business in Aberdeen, how you can get involved, what courses they run, and what support they can offer. So I'd like to just hand over to Ahmed to say a few words about Business Gateway.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Ahmed Sabir. I'm a business advisor with Business Gateway. I have 2 minutes to speak, so I'm going to try to compress as much as I can in these 2 minutes. I think quarter of them has already gone. So we try, our mission is to help businesses in Scotland. So if you are starting a business, that's good for you, and that's good for the wider economy, for the wider society. You're going to create employment, you're going to pay more taxes, and you are going to create economic development for you and for the rest of the economy. That's why we exist. That's why our services are funded by the Scottish government and the EU, still funded by the EU, by the way, and it's free to you. So we help all sorts of businesses at all sizes and whatever you are trying to do. So if you are starting a bakery from a kitchen, speak with us. If you are starting a corner shop, speak with us. If you are starting something innovative and you are changing the world, speak with us as well. We have different services, we have different opportunities to support, and we will be happy to do that. We offer training, so if you visit our website, bgateway.com, there is a lot of free training, there is a lot of interactive workshops covering all different areas of business, digital marketing, and hint of strategy, and many things that we think will be useful for starting a business. We don't give money away ourselves, but if you are based in the UK, there is something called the startup loan. It's backed by the government. It's a government program, and all you need to do to get that is have a robust business plan, a convincing business plan that's workable. We can help you create the business plan, and we can help you apply for it. So you don't have to start your business like Jay with £1,000. You can get more than that. If you are losing business, you're losing your job at the moment, you are starting over. We have training specifically for people who are starting over. We call it New Beginnings. It's a full day on how to start a business, how to think about the business, basically everything Matthew said, but on a whole day training on that. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. I will put the office phone and then on the chat. There are some slides I will share after the event, and please talk to us. My name is Ahmed Sabir. My email is ahmed.sabir@bgateway.com. I will just put it in the chat, and talk to us, please. We're here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. That is really great, and it's, you know, you've got an idea, but you don't know how to exactly turn it into a business. So that's what Matt was talking about, how you turn your passion into a business. And Business Gateway is a free resource for anybody in Scotland and Aberdeen to use to start up their own business. Lots of great courses, lots of great information there. So I really recommend Business Gateway as a kind of network you could use to turn your idea into a business and employ yourself and hopefully employ other people. So what I'm going to go on to now is just the next two trainings. So is Teresa's on the call? She's running our next training session. Is she here? Oh, she is here.
Here.
So
huh?
I'll hand over to Teresa, and Teresa can give you a little introduction to her training in a couple of weeks' time.
Hi, thank you, Daniel, so much, and thank you everybody for being on this call. I am so excited about being with you guys on the 23rd of February. I'm on another level to Matthew. Matthew's talking about starting a new business, and I'm going to be talking about how you can land or ace that interview. So there may be people out there that are really looking for a chance to shine in front of an interviewer. And if that's the case, if you think, oh my God, I don't know how to shine, I have so many questions about the questions I should be asking, I'll help you work through that. If you think, oh my God, I just need to sound a little more professional, I can bring you some hints and tips on how to do that as well. But one of the biggest things that I hear from so many people is that they don't know how to start preparing for the interview. They don't have a strategy, and they have no way of thinking about bringing stories to the table. And that's something that I'll also be focusing on. So on the 23rd of February, I'm going to share with you some of the interview survival tips that will take you from being really unfocused and kind of scattery to a more professional and organized individual. I've worked with over, oh my gosh, 25,000 people over the past 12 years, helping them find their voice, to be heard, understood, and remembered. And that's exactly what you need to do if you want to land that job and improve your status as you go through your life. So sign up if you haven't already. If you want to contact me prior to the event, I've put my information in the chat box, so feel free to contact me on that email address. Look me up on LinkedIn as Teresa Jukes Consultancy, and if you think, hey, I just need a few more tips, I've put a link in there for you to sign in to, or opt in to some interview survival tips. So hopefully I will see you guys on the 23rd. Thank you, Daniel.
Teresa, thank you very much. And how important is interview skills at the moment? So you're going to help a lot of people. And I went to your session last year, and it was really great. Just how to frame an answer, how to come up with a bank of different stories. It's excellent. I really enjoyed it last year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it again. So thank you, Teresa. And the next session after that is how to sell, and I have Derek who's going to come in and speak if he's just logging in.
Yeah, hi Daniel. I'm just trying to get the camera on here.
Perfect, thank you.
Do now not want to go on, so apologies for that. The video isn't working, it says. The joys of Teams, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with the camera. It was working 2 minutes ago. So I'm afraid we'll just have to do this by audio, if that's okay. Let me just try, I'll see if I can flick the camera on again.
It's all right, you got a beautiful voice, so you're fine.
That is really peculiar. Here I am now. You see me?
Perfect.
Good, yeah. The joys of having a few Grimsey. Yeah, well, hello everybody. My name's Derek Borthwick. I'll give you a little introduction about myself, which is the least interesting bit, and then we'll talk about what we can do for you at the session. I'm a best-selling author. I've written a book called Inside the Mind of Sales, How to Understand the Mind and Sell Anything. So that's where we're going to be going. I've got over 30 years experience in sales, work for some of those big giants like JP Morgan, Fidelity, Swiss private banks. And I'm going to share with you some really cool things about, first of all, how the mind works, because nobody really gives us an instruction manual for the mind. It's a bit like being in a city without a satellite navigation system or a map. People just kind of wander around and we kind of think we're doing okay, but nobody actually shows us how it works. And that's absolutely critical when you're involved in sales. We'll also look at some fundamental selling principles as well to show you how you can basically sell anything to anyone. And then we'll look at some of the biggest mistakes and how you can avoid those. And feel free to ask me as many questions as you want. We'll have time for that too. And hopefully it'll be a fun and interactive session for you. If you want to look me up, check me up on LinkedIn. I'm pretty, should we say, omnipresent on LinkedIn. I post a lot of things. So if you want to look me up, feel free to catch up there.
Thank you, Derek. And another great session, how to sell. Very important skill that we all need to develop. If anyone's been in Derek's sessions before, really fun, really interesting, very interactive. So another enjoyable event coming up. So JCI Aberdeen is part of JCI Scotland, and JCI Scotland's got Glasgow and Edinburgh. So we're really lucky tonight. We're going to have the president from Glasgow JCI giving us a little update on what Glasgow's doing. And because everything's online and we don't have to jump a train down to Glasgow, we can join you at any point. So I'd like to introduce the president of JCI Glasgow to speak.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and thank you very much for having me this evening. It was such a great session, and I wish I had them before I started my own business. Because my experience was, I literally started my business on the 3rd of March in 2018. And on the 13th of March, within 2 weeks, I got into a bad car accident coming back home from my client. And I literally couldn't walk and couldn't leave the house for 6 months. I couldn't walk upstairs. But I always say you can either be sorry for yourself or, well, suck it up and do the job. So I had people coming to my house while my husband was making dinners. So I say to anyone I'm talking to, and I encourage to start your own business, it's either day one or one day. I choose day one, and this is where I'm starting it. So the main things that we are doing in Glasgow, I would really like to invite you to our session on the 25th of February, and we will be talking about, are you on board? It will be an insight into the role of the charity trustee, because I think so many of you probably been working for big companies, but at the same time, never became a trustee on the charity where you can add value to the local organization and local community. We will have an expert, a JCI senator, who will share that experience with you. So just look up JCI Glasgow and you can book this event. Also, I just saw you're already doing one of the sessions on the interview skills. And we actually have on the 4th of March, moving from a job to your dream job, the same effort. So I think that probably would add up to the session you have at the end of February, and it will be great. One more thing, I know Edinburgh is not here tonight, but a hidden secret, in April, they are organizing entrepreneurship series of events. So keep your eyes open and see what else you can get out of JCI, because we are all about developing leaders and growing together.
Thank you very much. You summed up pretty well there. JCI Scotland is doing a lot of interesting stuff in Glasgow and in Edinburgh and here in Aberdeen. So get involved. It's a great charity to be involved with. We do a lot of interesting stuff and it's a lot of fun as well. And hopefully one day we'll get out to get a pint and a meal together, not too far away. So that kind of wraps it up for the evening. I'm going to say on the call, oh, sorry, Matt's going to say something. He put his fingers up.
Just one last thing before we go. I promised that we give away 3 books for the most interesting questions, so I don't want to look like I've not followed up on my promise. So I've gone through all of the questions that I've been seeing come through, and I think if you can either contact me or Daniel with the email details, but Masha Shaw had a great question about luxury products and selecting it for products. So I'd love to be able to give you a product. Hello, hold on to the end and we can get your details. I'd love to send you a copy, Masha. Isabel Simon as well had a great question there, and Chidinma Yvonne couldn't go without not giving Yvonne a free copy as well. So 3 of you, I'll if you want to hold on at the end, and I'll give you a copy of that. Anyone else, feel free. It's available too. So sorry, Daniel, to hijack that, but I just wanted to make sure we didn't.
So sorry, I didn't want to steal someone's free book there.
No,
I know Masha, she lives very close to me, so I don't want her to come to my door demanding for a book. So thank you for kindly sharing your book with our audience, JCI Aberdeen, and it's much appreciated. So I mean, that's it for the evening. I'm going to stay on the call for a few minutes if anyone wants to find out more about JCI Aberdeen. But for everyone else, thank you for turning up. You've made a great event. We had really great speakers, Business Gateway. We had talked about their next couple of sessions and a very good introduction from Glasgow JCI. So it's been a great night, and thank everyone for joining.